Hello. Bye. You check that in. Yes. Get the trolley, please. Where's the trolley?
Four on each side.
You don't pull it the trolley. Dear, give that to my sister. That's good.
Must we come here?
Yeah.
Okay. We take the coffee or we take it?
This one.
You guys go.
One of the ladies. One either side.
Actually, now we're going to carry this like a onto the trolley.
Who's carrying the thumb?
It's okay.
Yeah, as you pull, the next two will join. And five of them. But then, the more the merrier. Let's we come in front. Water first, then left, right?
Okay.
Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya.
Prakasan.
Turn this coconut, go outside, drop the camphor, break it. Don't remove the cup. Come leave the 2 hours on the tray. Then you'll turn the lamp and swing it on the light. While you come back, I'll do the prayer from there. Clockwise return.
யானை முகத்தவனே முத்திநலம் சொன்னவனே தூய்மை சுகத்தவனே மன்னவனே செல்பரநாயங்கரனே செல்ஜடயம் சேகரனே தற்பரனே நின்றால் உலகெல்லாம் உணர்ந்து ஓதற்கு அறியவன் உலகெல்லாம் உணர்ந்து ஓதற்கு அறியவன் உலகெல்லாம் உணர்ந்து ஓதற்கு அறியவன் உலகெல்லாம் உணர்ந்து ஓதற்கு அறியவன் நில உலாவிய நீர்மல்லிவேணியன் நில உலாவிய நீர்மல்லிவேணியன் அழகில் சோதியல் அழகில் சோதியன் அம்பலத்தில் ஆடுவான் அழகில் சோதியன் அம்பலத்தில் ஆடுவான் மலர் சீலாம்படி வாழ்த்தி வணங்குவான் மலர் சீலாம்படி வாழ்த்தி வணங்குவாம் மலர் சீலம்படி வாழ்த்தி வணங்குவாம் திருச்சிற்றம்பலம். ஓம் நம சிவாய 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 சிவாய நம ஓம் சிவாய நம ஓம் சிவாய நம ஓம் நம சிவாய சிவாய நம ஓம் சிவாய நம ஓம் சிவாய நம ஓம் நம சிவாய ஓம் நம சிவாய ஓம் நம சிவாய ஓம் நம சிவாய ஓம் நம சிவாய. Keep it down, sprinkle water. ஓம் நம சிவாய ஓம் நம சிவாய. Give him the sprinkle. ஓம் நம சிவாய ஓம் நம சிவாய. Govinda, 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 Govinda. Family members. In the top and the head.
அவர்கள் திருவடிகளுக்கு பண்புரை வந்தனம் வந்தனம் வந்தனம்.
Vanakkam, good day. I have been given the honor of being the director of proceedings today, and it is indeed an honor because here lies Balasoobramany Gounder, no ordinary man. In his 90 years, he made enormous contribution to his community, his country, and his family. Through marriage, I have been associated with this family for the last 4 decades, and I have become very much a part of his family. I want to thank him his beautiful late wife, Rana Gounder, and his family for always supporting both my academic and artistic endeavors. It often took a great deal of time, and they all supported me a great deal. I want to thank, first of all, the Merebank Town School Association for hosting this particular service. I know he's been your chair for a very long time and has contributed greatly to this wonderful hall. In fact, it's apt that he should be lying here today because it's very much his home. And the last time we remember it was at Yesh and Omashli's wedding. And I remember him looking at the pictures and saying, well, that's the royal family and that's the beautiful hall we're all in. Of course, we're really sad that our beautiful Omashli is late at this time. And we want to ensure the safety of the people here and maintain the health of all who are here. So please do try to keep your masks on, stay a distance from each other, try not to, well, not try, but please don't touch each other. And we'd like to ask you to please refrain from touching any member of the bereaved family. The numbers of COVID are rising and the new variants are coming hard and fast, and we're very concerned at this time. We've just completed the opening prayer, and those of you who wish to come forward and pay your respects, you may do so now, and then we'll go into the second part of the prayer. I don't think I introduced myself before. I am Surya Gounder, and I just want to thank all of you for attending in person and those attending virtually. We are very grateful for your support. I also want to acknowledge the officiating priest, Manogaran Perumal, who has assisted us today. As a first speaker, can I just ask Professor Bridge Maharaj to come forward? He's known my father-in-law for a long time, and he's a celebrated academic whom my father-in-law is extremely proud of. Thank you.
Vanakkam, Namaskaram, Namaste, members of the Gounder family and their friends. It's a privilege and an honor to pay tribute to Uncle Balan. My dad was employed by Uncle Balan in 1970 at the famous Organ Center in Prince Edward Street. Uncle Balan did not have a vacancy, but Uncle Adi Nadelson recommended that Uncle Balan employs my dad and that he would not regret doing so. And the rest, as they say, is history. My dad rapidly became a trusted employee of Uncle Balan, but more importantly, also an elder brother to Uncle Balan, Uncle Robin, and Uncle Trish. Uncle Balan always said that my dad contributed exponentially to the success of the business. Uncle Balan took a personal interest in our family. He requested updates on our school and university results. My brother Ajay and I were very fortunate that we had bursaries at university. However, bursary stipends were often delayed due to bureaucratic bungling. Uncle Balan always provided in advance so that our studies would not be disrupted. It is important that his generosity is acknowledged publicly. Uncle Balan followed my own university career very closely. He often took interest in my community activities as well as my public commentary. He also gave me his personal copy of his Rig Veda, the paramount Hindu scripture which enjoys pride of place in my library tomb. Uncle Balan was a successful businessman, philanthropist. Uncle Balan was a successful businessman, philanthropist of note and progressive in his political thinking, both in supporting the anti-apartheid movement as well as being critical of the deviation of the principles of the struggle for democracy. Uncle Balan will be remembered for his passion for promoting Indian culture and Hinduism in South Africa. More specifically, he played an important national leadership role and received international recognition for promoting Tamil culture in all its forms, music, dance, and language in South Africa. He was, for a long time, an influential member of the Myanmar Tamil School Society, together with the M.R. Murli family and the Nadesan family. I'm sure members of those families are here today. For many years, he was chairperson of the MTSS and developed strong networks with the Tamil diaspora nationally and internationally. He was concerned about the persecution of the Tamil community in Sri Lanka. On behalf of my brother Ajay and my sister Shamin, we'd like to extend our deepest sympathies to Karthi, Pragasan, Ruby, and their families. At 90, Uncle Balan led a life worthy of celebration and emulation. Om Namah Shivaya.
Thank you, Professor Marat. You've just heard from Professor Marat, who will come back later and speak on behalf of the Mahasabha, the Hindu Mahasabha. But we would like to read this wonderful message from one of our close cousins, Segrin, who lives in the United States. He says, and he sent this message to my father-in-law on 25th of February 2019. Thanks for your guidance and your direction and teaching us how to work without ego and selfish desires for the benefit of all. The lessons of working in the shop, bargain centre, and earning 75 cents for Friday and Saturday has made me the man I am. Further, your teachings of becoming an accountant has put food on my plate and the plates of my family. For that, I cannot thank you more or repay you, but to pray at your feet. Thank you so much for the abundance of knowledge and the gift of your compassionate heart, always towards me and my family. With much love and appreciation for what you have done for my family and myself, God bless. And he wrote that around 6:01, and around 10:24, my father-in-law wrote back, "You make me feel very well. Bless you, BG." I think it's a lovely message, and it really echoes a whole lot of sentiments of many of us who was in his presence. I have to tell you that there are many messages that have come through, and one of them is from Malaysian Durban Tamil Social Cultural Organization, and I will read it now. This organization extends sincere condolences to Mrs. Padmavati Gounder, other members of the family, and the Merebank Tamil School Society on the passing away of Thiru Balan Gounder. Appa Gounder had a long history with the Malaysian Durban Tamil Social Cultural Association since its inception in 1999, when the late Thiru P.I. Devan and Professor Paramasivan Muthusamy initiated cultural exchange visits between Tamils in South Africa and Malaysia. Thiru Balan Gounder was the chairman of the organization for many years and was committed to cement these ties between Indians in Malaysia and South Africa. He realized there were great similarities between the Tamil communities in Malaysia and South Africa, whose ancestors left India as laborers. Through Thiru Gounder's association with the Merebank Tamil School Society, the MTSS graciously hosted several groups of business, cultural and religious leaders who toured KwaZulu-Natal. It is noteworthy that despite his advancing years, Appa Gounder and Amma Padma made a point to travel to the airport to personally welcome the visitors and bid them farewell. It was Thiru Gounder's fervent desire that a group of Tamils from South Africa should visit Malaysia to experience firsthand how the Tamil language is being propagated and preserved there. Unfortunately, the COVID-19 pandemic has delayed such a visit. The Malaysian Durban Sociocultural Organization will long remember Thiru Balan Gounder for being humble, helpful, gentle, trustworthy and committed. These lifestyle qualities endeared him to everyone he came in contact with. Soft-spoken and simple, he contributed to the Tamil language for more than 7 decades and expected no fame and glory in return. His only reason to serve was simply based on pure love and dedication to Tamil language and culture. Malaysian Tamil leaders such as Tan Sri Somasundram, Dato B. Sahadevan, Tan Sri Prof. Marimuthu, Professor P. Ramasamy and Om Tyagarajan admired Appa Gounder for his deep knowledge and humility. The Tamil community has lost a gallant fighter for the upkeep of the language and forging unity between Tamils in Malaysia and South Africa. Thiru Gounder will rest well if we continue in his footsteps to preserve Tamil. May this great soul attain moksha. Thank you. We'll continue with the next part of the prayer. By Guru Manokra. Can all the family come forward, please?
come to your places and see the main content and remain standing on the side.
Ladies and gentlemen, please try to keep your distance. I know it's very difficult in circumstances like this. And I'd like to invite Guru Manogram to say a few words.
ஊழியர்கோன் வெப்பொழித்து புகழியர்கோன் கடல் போற்றி அழிமிசைக்கள் மிதப்பில் அணைந்த வீரான் அடி போற்றி வாழி திருநாவலூரன் வந்துண்ட பதம் போற்றி ஊழிமளி திருவாத ஊராக திருத்தால் போற்றி. திருச்சிற்றம்பலம். இங்கே சேர்ந்திருக்கும் அனைவருக்கும் எனது உள்ளம் கணிந்த வணக்கத்தை நான் தெரிவித்துக் கொள்கிறேன். இன்று இந்த மத்தியான நேரத்தில் காலன் சென்று நம்முடைய பெரியார் திருவாளர் பாலசுப்ரமணி கவுண்டர் அவருடைய இறுதி சடங்கு வாழ்க்கையின் உச்சிக்கட்டு கடைசி பிரார்த்தனை இன்னைக்கு செய்கிறோம். இன்னைக்கு நம்ம அப்பா நம்ம கூட இல்லை, பெட்டில் இருக்குது அவருடைய உடல் மட்டும், அவருடைய பணம் இருந்தாலும் நாங்கெல்லாம் ஒன்றாய் கூடி இங்க வந்திருக்கோம் அவரை பார்க்கறதுக்கு. அவர்கள் குடும்பத்தாருக்கு தைரியமும் உற்சாகத்தை கொடுக்கறதுக்கு இந்த அளவில் பண்றோம். ஏன்னா வாழும்போது ஒரு குவைட்டானால் ரொம்ப அமைதியானால், ஆனால் செயல ஒரு மகா பெரிய மலை. இந்த மிகப்பெரிய தமிழ் பாடசாலை சபைக்கு என்னை தெரிஞ்ச வரைக்கும் தலைவராக இருந்தவர் அவர். இங்கே சில வருஷங்கள் முன்னாடி அவருடைய உடல் அவ்வளோ பலம் இல்லை, என்னால் இந்த இயக்கத்தை முழுசா சர்வ் பண்ண முடியாதுன்னு அவருங்க ஒதுக்கிட்டார். அவர் இந்த சபைக்கு மட்டும் இல்லை, ஆனால் நம்ம தட்சிண ஆப்பிரிக்கா எல்லா தமிழ் மக்களுக்கு ஒரு தந்தையார். தமிழ் பாடசாலை மட்டும் இல்லாம தமிழ் பண்பாட்டு இயல் இசை நாடகம் என்னும் முத்தமிழ் நம்ம எல்லாரும் அதை ப்ரொமோட் பண்ணணும். அவருடைய கடைசி ஆசை, கடைசி வரைக்கும் அதை தான் பண்ணிட்டு இருந்தார். The loss of Thiruvalar Balan Gounder is not just to the Gounder family, but to the entire Tamil community of South Africa. He silently served the Tamil community without any care for name or fame or whether people knew what he did. But it was those of us that were involved with him that knew what a backbone he was to the Tamil community and how much he strived and struggled to keep the Tamil culture alive in this country. Just to tell the Gounder family that this loss is not just yours, it's a loss to all of us, and we all are together with you in this, and we all today are mourning the loss of one great Tamil soul of South Africa. Nandri, Vanakkam.
Thank you very much, Guru Manogaran, and thank you very much for assisting us this morning. I think when we listen to his Tamil, we all wish we spoke it like him. I just want to just read one or two more messages because so many have been received. Then I'll just call Yesh Gounder, our son. He's the eldest grandson who will speak to you. This is from the Savasitanda Karagam of South Africa, and the Karagam extends our deepest condolences to the bereaved Gounder family on the loss of their dear Appa Balan. This great individual will always be remembered by his acts of kindness, generosity, and the warm, pleasant nature which radiated from him when it came to the propagation of our sweet, honey-like language of Tamil. The positive impact that Appa has made on the lives of countless individuals is indeed commendable, and we know that he will be richly blessed for this. May all of us always keep the precious memory of Appa close to our hearts and cherish the fond times which we shared with him. We pray that his soul continues its journey towards liberation at the feet of our Supreme Lord. May our blissful Lord Sivaperuman grant all of you the strength and fortitude to cope with this great loss. May his guiding hands always be upon his family. I'd like to now call upon Yesh to say a few words.
Good afternoon, friends and family. Today I have the honor and privilege of paying tribute to Balan Gounder on behalf of his 7 grandchildren, Ishen, Talia, Vienka, Adistra, Rusia, Gian, and myself. Our grandfather was seen by many as many things, as the incumbent chairman of MTSS, a stalwart of Tamil culture, and the defender of the poor. But to us, he will always be remembered as our loving, proud, and dedicated Tata. Tata was the patriarch of our family. He was the person that all of us looked up to. And we all strived to gain his golden approval. He was a dapper, charming, and quintessential Papa Bear. I looked to emulate him in every way. Some of our happiest childhood memories were spent enjoying our weekends at Tata and Pati's flat on the Durban Esplanade. Ishen, Talo, Vienka, and I spent our days watching the ships docking and leaving the harbor. Tata always had interesting facts to tell us. Tata was a fascinating man and loved to tell a story. I remember once on a road trip, he started telling a story in Durban, and when we arrived in Johannesburg, he still wasn't finished. He kept us entertained. He and Pati took us all over Durban when we were growing up. Some of our adventures took us to exploring the Durban Museum, the bay, and feeding the birds in the park. Tata was a natural-born leader and commanded respect, not through aggression or bullish behavior, but through his natural calmness and regal demeanor. Whether it be at the shop, MTSS, or at home, he was the boss. Something I was in awe of. But his work ethic was his defining trait. It was second to none. His philosophy was that one should strive to provide one's children with the kind of life you did not have. In the mid-70s, Tata sent my father Karthi to London to further his education and fulfill his dream of becoming an English barrister and later Justice of the High Court in South Africa. Just imagine, an Indian shopkeeper from Durban had the foresight to be able to do this. He was light years ahead of his time. This one act had a ripple effect that changed the destiny of our family. This same work ethic seems to be a genetic fault, as it was passed on to my father and his siblings, Auntie Ruby and Uncle Prakasan, and subsequently on to our generation. Hard work above all else was his mantra. But this philosophy comes at a cost. Tata once said to me, his only regret in life was not spending enough time with his family. During his working years, he warned me strictly that I should not make the same mistake, and that family comes above all else. Treasure your family, boy, he told me. Don't chase money, it'll come in due time, he said. Tata invested a lot of time in my education and directly contributed to my success. On one occasion, he accompanied my mom to the University of Pretoria, when my dad was away and was a shoulder for her to lean on. In that same year, my academic results were below par due to the fact that I was a sheltered boy from Durban and was blinded by the bright lights of Pretoria. My father had called me home and had reprimanded me on my first semester's results and sent me upstairs to deal with the real big boss. Tata was seated at my father's desk with the presence of a mafia don and said these words to me that I will never forget. He said to me, "My boy, if you miss the boat, you miss the boat. Your parents had worked too hard for you to throw this away. Man up and get it done." And so I did. The rest is history. In his 90 years, Tata contributed to the Tamil community in South Africa, the freedom struggle, but perhaps his greatest contribution was that he was the rock-solid foundation on which we have built our lives on, and for that, we are forever grateful. During these difficult times, we search for solace in anything we can. We ask ourselves the question, and even ask God the question, why is this happening to us? But instead of doing this, we should rather channel all the good and positive energy from our lost loved ones and use their qualities in our day-to-day lives. Live your life with love, honor, and respect, just the way that Tata did. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Yash. I would now like to read a message from Southside FM radio. It is with deep sorrow that we heard of the passing of the late Mr. Gounder. Please accept our sincere condolences to Professor Karthi, Gounder, and the whole family. His passing is a great loss and setback to all of us at Southside Radio and the community at large. Mr. Gounder was one of the main drivers of the move to establish a radio station for the South Indian community. He was one of the key initiators of this project who never gave up, although it has taken over 10 years to have been granted a license. And it is a tragedy that he has passed on without seeing the launch of this project, which is due to take place very soon. Mr. Gounder will be remembered also for his deep involvement in various community organizations that are concerned with the propagation of South Indian culture and the welfare of community at large. His dedication, wise stewardship, and forthright and uncompromising principled decisions that he frequently steered through with a very calm, respectful, and strategic demeanor will always be a lesson for everyone to emulate. This earned him much respect and many friends. He was a very humble peacemaker who never expected any rewards, but always was ready to contribute freely. His humility and way of life never ever gave away the fact that he had amongst his children and his family high-end achievers academically, culturally, and in business. He was a true man of the people. We are sure that the Almighty will grant him his soul's final emancipation from embodiment. May his soul rest in peace. Can I now ask Professor Maharaj, to come back, and as a representative of the Hindu Mahasabha, they have asked to speak this morning.
Vanakkam once again. This is a message from Mr. Ashwin Chikimji, who is the president of the South African Hindu Mahasabha. The South African Hindu Mahasabha has learned with sadness of the passing of Mr. Balan Gounder. Uncle Balan, as we fondly knew him, played an important role in promoting Hinduism and the Tamil culture all his life. His lifelong contribution speaks volumes. The respect and dignity enjoyed in the community speaks volumes of his selfless contribution. He was a successful businessman, generous in his community philanthropy, and a cultural and religious leader. As the former chairperson of the Myanmar Tamil School Society for many years, he believed that parents have a key role to play in keeping Eastern languages alive in South Africa. He continuously encouraged the promotion of mother tongue language in South Africa. On behalf of the officials and all the affiliates of the South African Hindu Mahasabha, please accept our deepest and heartfelt condolences. We pray that Almighty God, Paramatma, blesses his Atma with eternal peace and grant the family the courage and fortitude at this time of bereavement. Thank you.
And one of the final messages is from the World Cyber Council. It is with great sadness that we receive the news of the passing away of our great cyber, Tamil Salwat, Thirubalan Gounder. On behalf of the World Cyber Council, South Africa branch, WSC, and also the international community, I express my deepest condolences to the family of the late Thirubalan Gounder. Thirubalan Gounder's role as leader of the MTSS and his immense contribution to the upliftment of Tamil culture and language is well known. Thirubalan also played a pivotal role in the formation of the WSC and was directly responsible for the success of the various high-profile projects that the WSC undertook between 1995 and 2005. When Swami Sivananda Adikalar arrived in South Africa in 1995 to establish a South Africa branch of the World Cyber Council, he was faced with a fragmented Saivite community lacking in visionary leadership. It was the highly respected Thirubalan Gounder who was entrusted with the leadership of the newly formed branch that organized the first International Saivite Conference in South Africa. Held at the MTSS and attended by international and local delegates, the three-day conference was an unqualified success, thanks to the leadership of Thirubalan. The following year, he led a South African delegation to a cyber conference in Tanjavur in Tamil Nadu. Under his astute leadership, the World Cyber Council South African branch made tremendous progress by promoting cyber education courses throughout South Africa. The Karthikei Deepam Festival was made popular in South Africa by organizing several festivals over many years at the Chatsworth Stadium branches of the organization, and these were established throughout South Africa during his tenure as president of the WSC. The Saivite community of South Africa is indeed indebted and grateful to this great and humble Tamirat for his leadership, guidance, sacrifice, and passion for the propagation of Saivism in South Africa through the World Cyber Council. Our tribute to this great soul will not be complete without even a mention of the selfless material contribution and leadership he provided in the South African support of the oppressed Ilam Tamils in Sri Lanka. Thirubalan was the founder member and leader of the South African branch of the International Tamil Rehabilitation Organization, TRO, under whose leadership a primary school was built in Tamil Ilam, Sri Lanka, amongst other projects. We salute Thirubalan and wish him well in his spiritual journey. Anbe Sivam, Sivame Anbu. Now can I call his eldest son, Karthik Avandus, to speak to you.
Vanakkam, Namaste, Namaskar. I deliver this eulogy on behalf of my sister, Ruby, brother Pragasan, and myself. Appa was a self-taught and self-made businessman, a committed cultural leader, a father, father-in-law, and grandfather who changed the trajectory of our lives, and a generous and loving husband, initially to Amma, and then later to Auntie Padma. We can state unequivocally that he was the transformative figure in our lives, and without him, all of us would have had a much less productive and much less satisfying life. He made it his mission in life, despite considerable personal sacrifice, to give all three of us the best possible education. Even when we failed, he simply reinvested in our lives. We were in the incredibly fortunate position of having a safety net below us until Wednesday this week, when he passed on. It was a safety net that would support us no matter what. Like many of his generation, he understood the power of education and was determined, as Yesh said, that his children would have the career opportunities that he did not have. But we got more than having our fees paid before they were due. He taught us the virtues of discipline, hard work, and perseverance, not by his words, but by his constant action. We are because of him. A few years ago, an Indian academic colleague said to me that the greatest gift a government can give its people is the gift of independence. Appa gave us that and more. He gave us warmth, compassion, and respect. None of us can ever recall exchanging a harsh and hurtful word with him. Our relationship was grounded on mutual respect and love, and we hope that these lessons will be emulated by the generation of our families that follow. That would be a fitting tribute to Appa's legacy. Appa was self-educated and a voracious leader. He read all the newspapers he could lay his hands on and would discuss the topical issues of the day with us. Before Wi-Fi became readily available, the standing rule was that whenever we traveled, we would bring English newspapers back to him, and he would read it at one sitting. He also loved music. He loved Shirley Bassey, Ray Charles, and the big band music. And I remember him telling me with considerable admiration of how Joan Armatrading refused to lighten her skin and wear wigs to please the recording bosses. And every time I listen to songs by Joan Armatrading, I think about that. At times he was both mother and father to us. As some of you will recall, Amma suffered from asthma and sometimes got so ill that she had to live in Pietermaritzburg as the climate in Durban exacerbated her breathing difficulties. When Pragasan was 3 months, Amma fell dangerously ill, and Appa had to look after Pragasan in our tiny rented flat in Prince Edward Street above the shop. Ruby was with Amma in Pietermaritzburg. We had a routine. Pragasan was a very good baby. He would wake up between 12 and 1 every day. I would heat his milk, and Appa would change him and then feed him and burp him. In the morning, we would wrap him up and take him to Chatsworth Aya's house in Unit 3 and pick him up in the evening. To the best of my recollection, this went on for a couple of months. I think he had a special bond with Pragasan. And while he sometimes complained to me about how much Pragasan spent on his cars, he was proud of the groundbreaking and pioneering work Pragasan and his architectural company were doing in the province and the country. Of the three of us, Ruby probably worked the hardest in Bargain Centre. Appa was rightly very proud of her academic achievements and her success as an educator, as a mother, and as a wife. Recently, after devouring Ruby's chicken biryani and orange cake, he said to me, "Ruby is one impressive lady." And I said, "She is that because of you." I never heard my father say an immodest word. He was impressively successful in so many endeavors, but always humble. Like many of his generation, he found praising his children did not come naturally. He was interviewed on Radio Lotus a few years ago, and he said to the interviewer that he's blessed to have children, grandchildren, and family that he has, and for that he will remain eternally grateful and could ask for nothing more. That was so gratifying. When I recently acted as a judge, I asked the registrar to take a photograph of me in court, and I sent it to Appa with a note that read, "This is because of you." He showed it to everyone that visited him. I'm so glad we sent him those small gestures. Surya, Sunil, Anusha regarded him as a father and shared the deep love and respect that we had with Appa. He encouraged them to pursue their ambitions and assisted whenever he could and rejoiced in their successes. Some of the happiest memories were the fun and joy we experienced at the birthday parties, anniversary celebrations, weddings, and graduation functions that we had in our various homes. And Appa was always the center of the events. He was the catalyst that made all of that possible. Amma, Appa, Sitpa, and Peripa, and our various cousins ran a grocery shop called Bargain Center in the center of Durban for more than 45 years. Brits referred to this in his speech. Our circumstances were difficult at the time. Appa and Amma worked long hours and barely made ends meet. But in time, Appa's instinctive entrepreneurial skills advanced not just our lives, but the lives of his brothers and his other family members. The grocery shop, which mainly sold dal, rice, beans, and prayer goods, educated all of us. He apportioned some of his success to the assistance he received from the Gujarati traders in the Casbah area of town. He had an impeccable reputation as a businessman of high integrity and morals, and in the early and crucial years they offered him generous credit terms, knowing that he would pay it back. It was this that allowed him to survive and prosper for just under 5 decades in a competitive environment. He was obsessive about paying his debts timelessly. When I took over administering his affairs, he would nag me about ensuring that his tax were paid on time. And I often said to him he was in a minority of one, and ensuring that all his payments were made timelessly. In the 80s, Bargain Center was chosen by the Red Cross as one of the stores to supply groceries to recently released political prisoners. I recall Billy Nair coming to the shop shortly after his release from Robben Island, and Appa telling him that the Red Cross would provide groceries to him and his family for the next 4 months. Billy Nair's response, and I recall that because I was there, was that he would only need it for a month, as he was determined to get back on his feet, and that the groceries that the Red Cross supplied must be used for other political prisoners who were more in need. I suppose it was as a consequence of interactions such as that that made Appa a strong Congress supporter, and even now he found it difficult sometimes to criticize the ANC, even in its current flawed form. We all have clear memories of going with him to political rallies organized by the NIC and UDF at the various halls in and around Durban. Pegasan attended those meetings even though he was a child at the time. Our home was used as a safe home to hide political activists being sought by agents of the apartheid state. I must also acknowledge Minister Pravin Gordhan for calling me to express his condolences and also acknowledging the support that Appa and Amma had given the liberation struggle. Appa was also kind and generous. Years ago, I went to have my hair cut in Reservoir Hills by a lady called Patwa. While cutting my hair, she asked me where I was from, and I told her that my father ran Bargain Center in town. She refused to allow me to pay for the haircut. She said that during the riots in Indanda in 1985, her family had lost all their possessions and their home was destroyed. She said Appa was part of a group that gave them free groceries for a number of weeks. He never mentioned this to us. After Appa passed, I called my cousin Jaya's wife Lakshmi to thank her for taking food to Appa and being so kind to him over the last few years. Her response was that he was like a father to her, and she reminded me that he brought her wedding sari down from India together with the wedding cards. When Appa got ill a few years ago, my cousin Segrin traveled from the US specifically to assist him. And we thought he'd never walk again, but through Segrin and the perseverances of others, he managed to get to walk with great endeavor. I want to also acknowledge my cousin Jeannie, my aunt Ambi, and my aunties Sushila Senai and Manor Perima. Jeannie, who is in Johannesburg but lives in the same building as Appa lived, would visit often, provide him with assistance, and provide us with advice on how to deal with him. My auntie Ambi is his last surviving sibling, who is now unfortunately very ill, and his sister-in-laws helped and provided him with love. While he was a benign and loving parent, there was a tough and determined side to his personality. When he returned to Waverley Building, where he lived, and discovered that the person running the building was up to all sorts of shenanigans, he organized all the tenants, called meetings, dealt with high court litigation, and finally took over the chairpersonship and cleaned up the financial mess that he inherited. He did this all when he was in his mid-80s. I also recall how he waged a battle together with others with Radio Lotus over the marginalization of the Tamil language. Their pressure forced the radio station to change its policy. But I suppose his finest moments as a leader came as chairperson of the Merebank Tamil School Society, a position which he held for decades. He was part of a team that made MTSS the paramount cultural organization in the country. His leadership of MTSS enhanced his qualities as a father and a husband. For all he put into MTSS, he received so much in return. He received the respect, admiration, and gratitude of a grateful community. A few years after Amma passed, Appa married Auntie Padma. They had in common a strong commitment to advancing and promoting Tamil. Many cultural, religious, and linguistic organizations bestowed a variety of awards and honors upon them in recognition of the community activities. They fortunately traveled through India, England, and they traveled on the Trans-Siberian Express train from Moscow to Beijing. It's something which Appa always wanted to do and he had in his bucket list. When Appa became ill a couple of years ago, Auntie Padma suspended all her activities to assist with his caring. A few days before he fell and fractured his hip, which led to his death, I assisted one of our caregivers, Temi Mabaso, to give him a bath. And it just occurred to me how good, nourished his skin looked. He received the best possible care, and we want to acknowledge and thank Auntie Padma and the three amazing caregivers, Temi, Lindi, and Silo, who were the caregivers that assisted and contributed to him having a decent quality of life in his last few years. Appa led a life that mattered. Not only did he succeed professionally and improve the quality of life of his immediate family, he had a transformative effect on the community which he served. His life holds valuable lessons for us all, and we hope that we remain faithful to his vision, principle, and values. Go well, Appa, and we'll be eternally grateful that you were chosen to be our father. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Karthi. And I simply have to read this. We just received it, but this is from his friend of 45 years, Uncle Toga. It is with deep regret that I received a message of the passing away of my dearest friend, Thiru Balan. Although I am aware of his recent illness, his passing away came as a shock to me. Just a short while ago, before the COVID-19 pandemic, he was anxious to see me, and he asked Mr. Dan Mudliar to give me the message to visit him. My wife and I visited him in his flat, and he was excited to see us. He was confined to his bed most of the time, and he explained to me that he passed most of the time reading newspapers and books. I knew him to be an avid reader. My association with late Balan and his family, who lived in Merebank at the time, goes over 60 years. Balan, Rani, and his 3 children were very close to my family. The late Balan and I were very close friends and were involved in community work from 1959. When the late Balan was a manager of Merebank and district cooperative trading store, we were involved in the Deepavali Cheer Group, an organization that distributed food hampers during Deepavali to the needy families in Merebank. Prior to the establishment of the Merebank Municipal Housing Scheme, hundreds of families lived in informal houses, waiting for the allocation of municipal houses. Mostly these families were assisted during Deepavali. In 1960, we joined the Durban Indian Child Welfare Society, Merebank Local Committee, and we elected the late Balan Gounder as chairman. However, he stated that he could only take on the position for 1 year, since he had business commitments and could not take on this position for long. We accepted this request, and I took on the position of secretary, and finally, after 1 year, he insisted that I take on the position of chairman. Our committee accepted his proposal. This Merebank Local Committee carried on with its functions for many years after this. Mr. Balan always assisted us in getting sponsors for all our fundraising projects. He assisted the organization in many ways. He joined us on our outings, work camps, at Lake Caven Children's Home, etc. He always looked for my assistance in his business bargain center in Prince Edward Street. We also did the Dale Carnegie course together, which helped us in our community work. All in all, he was a prince among men. I and my family will surely miss him. And now, ladies and gentlemen, may I call upon Mr. Dan Mudliar from Merebank Tamil School Association to speak.
Vanakkam. So much has been said, and there's so much more to be said. My speech today is going to concentrate on his activities at the Merebank Tamil School Society. We go back further than that, because we grew up as children in front of him. In 2018, a week before the annual general meeting, our dearly departed soul, Balan Gounder, asked me, in my capacity as Secretary of the Merebank Tamil School Society, to call an executive committee meeting urgently so that he could address us. At that meeting, he dropped the bombshell that he will not be standing for re-election to the chair. This declaration took us by surprise. We were ill prepared for this and unanimously agreed not to accept his resignation. None of us wished to take the chair. We knew that he was not well, not in the best of health, but we asked him to stay on for at least another year. We promised him that we will assist him in his work at MTSS. Being the secretary of the organization, I sat in the chair next to Uncle Balan at board meetings for the past 25 years. I readily accepted to assist him whenever the need arose. Mr. Devan Mudli, Mr. Avindran Chetty, and Mr. Yogesan Mudli all volunteered to assist with secretarial work to enable me to assist the chairperson. He accepted to stay on as chairperson for another year. At the 83rd Annual General Meeting, in 2019, our chairman for the past 30 years stepped down from the leadership. A position he cherished and loved so much. He led the executive committee and the general membership of the organization with respect, dedication, and dignity. Year after year, he was elected to the position unchallenged. This showed the character of a man totally committed to serve the society in its drive to propagate the Tamil language and culture in our community. Unfortunately, due to his age and deterioration of his health, he decided that it was time to pass on the leadership, and therefore did not stand for re-election. We wish him well in his retirement. We wished him well in his retirement from active participation. We miss him dearly at our meetings. His first recorded attendance at an MTSS meeting was the 12th of April 1978, when the main auditorium was being built. Thereafter, he was accepted as a member of the society. I should mention that he was closely associated with the MTSS, as his late dad, Thiru P.M. Gounder, was the chairperson of the organization in the 1940s and early 1950s. His loan of 5,000 Rand, together with other loans from non-members, largely contributed to the completion of the main hall. Thereafter, he served diligently in the executive committee, which controlled the daily activities of the MTSS. A lot was achieved in the early years, with the hall being fully booked for weddings and other functions. It is in this department that the unity of the membership stood firmly committed. Members and their families spent their time in the hall at weekends, assisting in the dining hall and whenever needed at no cost to the society. Uncle Balan and his lovely wife, Auntie Rani, were no exception. They would be present on weekends, working from morning till evening on many occasions. Such was the dedication and the sacrifices that were made to uplift the MTSS onto a better footing. All this was done so that MTSS could provide free Tamil education to the community at large. On the demise of the then chairman of MTSS, the late Thiru M.R. Murli, on 26 February 1989, a void was created within the society. The executive committee, without delay, called a special meeting and without hesitation nominated Thiru Gounder to take the chair. This was a unanimous decision. The kind of personality he possessed and displayed showed that he was ready for the leadership role. He held this position for 30 years when ill health forced him to step down. At this point, I want to pay special thanks to Auntie Padma, who stood by Uncle Balan in the most difficult moments in their lives. May God give her strength and courage to overcome this traumatic period in her life. During the 30 years of leadership of the prestigious Meerbank Tamil School Society, much progress was made in the extensions to the property and Tamil education. A new school block was built for our Tamil school pupils. The main auditorium was refurbished, and a new block was built at the rear, which included the prayer hall, especially for Sunday service. In closing, I would like to, on behalf of the Meerbank Tamil School Society membership and the M.R. Murli family, pass our sincere condolences to the family. May his soul rest in peace.
Thank you, Mr. Mudliar, and the family would like to thank you and MTSS once again for hosting this service. If you haven't viewed, please come forward, because we expect to leave at around 1:15. This message is from Mr. Gopinath in Chennai. Very sad to know that our dear friend Balan Gounder is no more with us. South Africa has lost a great citizen, and our mighty Merebank Tamil School Society has lost one of its pillars. Many decades of colourful friendship with this family has continued from my father's days. He was always a smiling and friendly person, and during his visits to Chennai, we used to visit them and help them, and he stayed at our Chennai Egmore guest house many times. I was fortunate to have stayed a night and enjoyed the hospitality in his house during my visit to Durban in 1994, and he took me around Durban and I visited his shop, Bargain Centre, which was also in the centre of town. I was very pleased to host him when he came to India to find his roots, to locate his ancestral village near Tiruvannamalai. He was so happy that we were successful. May he rest in peace. The cremation is private, but we will be moving to the crematorium at 1:15. May I call Mr. Richard Gounder from the Tamil Federation to come forward, please.
On behalf of our trustees, the executive, the management committee, the Women's Forum, and affiliated organizations of the Tamil Federation of KwaZulu-Natal, I extend our heartfelt condolences to Amma Padma, my brother Kathy and Pregasan, and members of the Gounder family on the sad passing away of Abba Balan Gounder. In just a week, we have lost 3 noble sons of our soil: the passing away of Comrade Ibrahim, Appa Swaminathan, and Balan Gounder. has no doubt left a great void in our midst, especially for the indelible role they have played in serving South Africa socially, politically, and culturally. Today, we bid farewell to Balasoobramany Gounder, a highly respected doyen of our community, who served the Tamil Federation as its president and trustee over many years with absolute passion and dedication. We are thankful to God for having made it possible for all of us to have had an association with Appa over many years. I, like many, was always intrigued by his immense knowledge of the people, their culture, and the rich history, locally and abroad. Appa Balan served the Merebank Tamil School Society as its chairman over many a decade, and he also served the Tamil Federation of KwaZulu-Natal, the Tamil Coordinating Committee, who championed the cause for our brothers and sisters in Sri Lanka, and the Southside FM, and many other organizations with the same degree of passion and commitment. He was a mentor to many within our organizations. We can never forget the warm hospitality by Appa Balan and Amma Padma on our many visits to the beachfront flats, and his words of wisdom. Appa Balan's legacy will live on by those who are inspired by his benevolence, his love, affection, and for his sacrifice and his selfless service in serving our communities. Our collective prayer is for our Supreme Silver Perumal to grant Amma Padma, Brother Karthi and Pragasan, and members of the Gounder family and friends that have gathered here the strength and fortitude during the bereavement. God bless. Sure.
There's a personal message from retired Major General Bala Naidu. Vanakkam, my deepest condolences to Amma Padma Gounder, Professors Karthi and Surya Gounder, Prakasan Gounder, and members of the Gounder family. Our Indian community, and more in particular, the Tamil community, has lost truly a committed and tireless giant. Uncle Balan served as a true servant and was never shaken by any challenges and never sought accolades for his work. My association with this kind-hearted gentleman dates back a long way when I was a resident in Merebank. During the early 2000s, Uncle Balan, Uncle Adi, and Uncle S.T. Mudli summoned me to MTSS and ordered me to take the chair of the Tamil Federation in KZN. I reluctantly agreed, and the rest is history. With his sound backing and that of the MTSS, we successfully launched and finalized many projects, some being this SATF Cultural Center, the Spoken Tamil CD project, the Bursary Project for Tertiary Education, and many others. Our Tamil people showered utmost respect on Uncle Balan. I vividly remember when I sought funds for the building of SATF Cultural Center, Uncle Balan was the chair, and after my presentation, I left the meeting. I barely drove out of the hall, and I got a call from Uncle Balan. He told me that he had me on the speaker, and the other members who were listening, and other members were listening in. In his soft and humble tone, he told me the committee had approved the sum of 250,000 rands with the proviso that if I needed more funds, MTSS would oblige. I was shocked and overcome with emotion that I could only utter, "Thank you, Uncle Balan." Uncle Balan held my hand and has served as my treasurer before taking over from me as chair of Tamil Federation. The many children, WHO, so sorry, I think I've got COVID on my mind. The many children who were awarded bursaries for music and tertiary studies bears testimony to the many projects of the brainchild of Uncle Balan. Many of our committees benefited from the free music shows the Tamil Federation hosted. There are many other projects we could speak of, but unfortunately time does not permit. He should be recognized as a servant of the community and one of the greatest Tamil leaders in South Africa. Rest in peace, Mika Nandri.
Amen.
Guru Kanyapan Naika will now take over in terms of the last prayer and then the prayers at the private cremation. So I invite him to lead.
Our dearest family and friends, ladies and gentlemen, it's an humble request once again for those who have not viewed or for those who wish to pay our last respects to please do so. Ladies and gentlemen, the Gounder family wishes to express their sincere thanks and appreciation to each and every one of you for taking off the time today to be here with them during this difficult time in their lives. For your contributions, your messages of condolences and sympathies, they want to say a very big thank you. Also, a big thank you goes out to those who are watching the live stream. We do understand that during this pandemic, it's really difficult to leave your homes. We really appreciate that you watching the live stream until the conclusion of today's funeral service. Today we want to pray to the Almighty that He showers His choicest blessings upon this family to overcome this unbearable loss and that of our dear loving Father. With this in mind, like mentioned, if you wish to pay your last respects as we're concluding, please do so. I want to call the pallbearers to please come forward. Kindly note that the funeral procession will now proceed to the Clear State Crematorium. Like mentioned, it will be a private cremation amongst the immediate families. With this in mind, can we please all rise and can we have the pallbearers please come forward? परिपूर्णाय महादेवदाय नमो नमः गोविंदा गोविंदा One balance, please come. Yeah, this side. Govinda, Govinda, Govinda. Namah Shivaya. Om 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 Namah Shivaya. Shivaya Namo. Shivaya Namo. Shivaya Namo. Om Namah Shivaya. Shivaya Namo. Shivaya Namo. Shivaya Namo. Om Namah Shivaya. Shivaya Namo. Shivaya
Can we raise a casket? Okay, boys. Now we find time. Namah Shivaya. Lower the back, lower the back. Lower the back. Put the prayer box. The prayer box. is one of the youngsters.
Yeah,
of the
they're not they got it.
Yeah, there's your. Yes. Has the Oslo passport?
According to the strict rules of the COVID rules, while doing your prayers, please have your food. Okay, kind of yes, at the COVID service, they will not allow you. Even
As you follow me, please put on your headlights and your hands.
Jaya Jaya